Going for a record-breaking roller coaster is a surefire way to attract guests from all over the world to a theme park. So going for the world's tallest, steepest, and fastest wooden coaster in the world at a brand new theme park in Texas would guarantee this new ride would be a success. It was deemed an instant hit, but ended up packing too much of a punch for a lot of riders.
They say they like to do things bigger and better. Well, here's an example of that. The motto is called the Rattler, a wooden roller coaster billed as the fastest, tallest, and the steepest, so sit back and take a ride.
Coming up next is the Fiesta Texas ribbon cutting ceremony, and you won't want to miss it. Oh, and you can leave your six-shooter at home. These parts don't appear to be nearly as dangerous as they used to be.
In March 1992, located just outside San Antonio, the newest amusement park in Texas opened, hoping to compete with Astro World in Houston, Six Flags over Texas in Arlington, and SeaWorld just down the road. The name of this new park would be Fiesta Texas. The park would sit in a former limestone quarry that had operated from 1934 until 1988. When the limestone had been depleted and the location was put up for sale, planning for this new park began. The quarry walls would provide a striking surrounding to the theme park and wall in the park on each side. The development team for the park consisted of real estate developer USAA Real Estate Company and the Gaylord Entertainment Company, who at the time owned Opryland in Nashville. San Antonio was selected as a location due to it already being an established regional leisure destination, and with SeaWorld San Antonio opening with no rides in 1988, it was deemed a success. The consistent growth of the theme park industry yearly was a major factor as to why they thought that another theme park would work in San Antonio. The park's concept was created by Toronto-based company Forek. Some of their other notable work was designing Universal Studios in Orlando, Canada's Wonderland, and Dollywood. The construction was handed over to local San Antonio companies starting in early 1990 and lasting until the park opened in March 1992.
Howdy. They asked me to tell y'all about a little project we just wrapped up here in San Antonio. They call it Fiesta Texas. Nothing fancy, just the darndest theme park built in America in the last 20 years. Got its own Mexican village built right inside. Bravo! Over at the old-time German Texas town, they're celebrating Oktoberfest. There's a 1920s boom town where it's always the 4th of July. And you can ride the Rattler, world's tallest wooden roller coaster. And there's a place called Rockville where it's homecoming every day and the 50s rock and roll never stops. And still in the same little old park, the whole family can cool their heels and just about everything else. Yep, down here we only know one way of doing things, Texas style. And I reckon you know what that means. So come to Fiesta Texas and celebrate Texas. Fiesta Texas!
Fiesta Texas opened with 4 themed areas, with each of these featuring shows fitting the theme. 3 of the areas were picked to reflect Texas's most prominent cultures: Western, Hispanic, and German, with a final area being based around nostalgia. Fiesta Texas would cost nearly $100 million to build. There would be 14 opening day attractions, 7 theaters featuring 400 entertainers and roaming mariachi bands and Buddy Holly lookalikes. It was an ambitious and exciting new park. Some of the rides in the park included a river rapids named the Gully Washer, which still operates today, a custom-built carousel, a splashdown ride, and only one adult roller coaster. This wasn't just any roller coaster though. This one just happened to be a record breaker, the Rattler. Located in Crackaxle Canyon, it was the tallest, fastest, and steepest wooden roller coaster in the world when it opened with the park in March 1992. Though, if it had stuck to its original design, it wouldn't have been, and some of the issues that followed may have been avoided. The lucky creators of this behemoth wooden roller coaster would be the Roller Coaster Corporation of America, who were awarded the contract to build the coaster in 1990. The company was founded in 1979, but this would be their first roller coaster build, and they would be doing it under the name Roller Coaster Corporation of Texas. Even though this was their first coaster, the president of the company, Michael Black, had been working on wooden coaster construction projects before, like the Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags over Georgia, alongside his father, Marvin Black, and brother, Stephen Black. The ride's designer would be John Pierce. This would be his first ride design of 3 wooden roller coasters. Gaylord Entertainment, the owners of Fiesta Texas, wanted this coaster to represent everything Texan, so it needed to be big, bold, and record-breaking. There was an issue though.
How tall could it be? It's vast. It's the tallest, hugest, largest mammoth wooden roller coaster. It's the highest wooden roller coaster in the world. How tall could it be?
Another roller coaster located in Ohio wanted the same titles and was opening before the Rattler. That ride was Mean Streak at Cedar Point. Opening on May 11th, 1991, this Din Corporation constructed wooden coaster would be the world's tallest wooden coaster at 161 feet, reaching top speeds of 65 miles per hour, both record-breaking titles. Mean Street's opening would mean that the Rattler would need a swift redesign if it was to meet its target for records and for a March 1992 opening. With pressure from the park owners to alter the design of the ride, the height of the lift hill was increased to 179 feet. This change would take the record height and ensure the speed of the ride would reach between 68 to 73 miles per hour. This late change would not affect the grand opening. At this stage, the 2 trains for the ride had already been completed and were due to arrive on site in September. With a wet summer and construction delays, testing was said to be behind schedule. With the plans finalized and the somewhat limited testing complete, the ride was ready to open for March 14, 1992. The statistics advertised by the park for the Rattler were a 180-foot lift hill, a 166-foot drop with an angle of 61 degrees, top speeds of between 68 to 73 miles per hour, with top G-forces on the drop at 3.5 Gs, and a ride time of roughly 2 minutes 45 seconds. Costing a total of $5.7 million. It was impressive stats for a roller coaster at a brand new theme park. On opening day, the ride was a huge hit, with a 3-hour queue and the drop being described as the best element on a roller coaster in the world. It was fast, smooth, and breathtaking. The only issue was, not everyone felt the same about the first drop. The kinks still needed to be figured out, and the ride was closed on the second day due to excessive speeds. As more and more guests rode the Rattler, Fiesta Texas started receiving some differing feedback. Some guests loved the ride, saying it was the best they had ever ridden. Others thought it was the most painful experience in the world. Increasing the height of the first drop had unintended consequences for the forces felt that were not foreseen. 2 weeks after the Rattler opened, Dana Morgan, the son of Arrow Development co-founder Ed Morgan, who had created the cars for the ride, sent a letter to Mike Black of the Roller Coaster Corporation of America offering his views now that the Rattler had been opened. In the letter, he stated that the risks of eliminating testing to meet the opening date were not worth the risk of opening a ride on time. This lack of testing was said to be due to the construction delays and the wet winter, but the claims of the ride not being properly tested were refuted by Black. Publicly, Fiesta Texas said riders were enjoying gravitational forces of 3 Gs, or 3 times the Earth's gravity. But the ride's true G-forces were higher, due to the increase of the first drop, which meant a tighter radius at the bottom of the drop, meaning 5 Gs were being felt with the varying speed of the ride. In some cases, the forces could be even higher, and well beyond safe limits. Dana also stated that the trains were designed with the original height in mind, and were not built to stand the excessive forces now generated by the coaster. In order to counteract the excessive forces, Morgan offered some suggestions. Adding brakes to the drop and the rest of the ride to reduce the speed, recontour the first drop to smooth out the tight radius at the bottom, or one final suggestion was to reduce the height of the lift hill to bring the Gs down to an acceptable rate. Morgan didn't think these changes would affect the world-class nature of the ride. It wasn't just the Gs felt on the drop that was affecting riders. At the same time, riders felt 1.5 G-forces sideways as the coaster veered left and another 1.5 Gs when it turned right. A San Antonio lawyer at the time described the G-forces on the drop as it felt like an 80-pound weight bearing down on the human head. Adding to that vertical pressure was 24 pounds of force pressing the head from the left, and then suddenly the right. Publicly, Fiesta Texas still advertised the ride at 3 Gs. By the end of the first season, the park had received hundreds of complaints and injuries related to the Rattler. John A. Hoover, the operations manager for Fiesta Texas, analyzed more than 100 Rattler injuries during a 3-month span and presented his findings in a November 5, 1992 memo to Black. According to that document, half of all the injuries occurred during the Rattler's first drop. 36% of the injuries had bloody noses, head wounds, or mouth injuries, while 31% had neck injuries and 20% complained of back injuries. Quite a list of injuries for a new ride. RCAA would attempt to install brakes and reprofile the track to control speed over the next 2 seasons, but were unable to reduce the extra forces. After 2 years of trying to make the ride less severe, Fiesta Texas owners announced in December 1993 that they would be shortening the Rattler's first drop from 166 feet to 122 feet. They stated that the changes were made in response to guest feedback, and not the scores of personal injury lawsuits filed against the park. In 1998, Fiesta Texas had reached settlements worth $3.54 million in lawsuits, representing 27 plaintiffs due to injuries sustained on the Rattler. Black subsidiaries, the Roller Coaster Corporation of Texas, bombarded by more than 50 lawsuits, declared bankruptcy in 1996, but the Roller Coaster Corporation of America would continue. Fiesta Texas stated that the Rattler was too aggressive for some guests and wanted to open it up to a broader audience. In reducing the drop by 42 feet to 122 feet and reducing the height of the follow-up peak by 19 feet, it would aim to reduce the G-forces and reduce the speed. The changes were successful. The top speed now reached only 65 miles per hour. Even though the ride gave up its fastest and tallest world records, it made it much more accessible to park guests. Enthusiasts still described it as a great ride, even though the Rattler had lost some of its sting. The Rattler continued to operate and entertain guests over the next 20 years, becoming slightly rougher as the years went by. Something new was looming over the quarry wall though. After the success of the Texas Giant transformation into the new Texas Giant in 2011 at Six Flags over Texas, a steel and wood hybrid, which was the first Iron Horse conversion by Rocky Mountain Construction. Rumors began circulating that the Rattler would be the next coaster to get the treatment. On July 9th, 2012, Six Flags Fiesta Texas announced that the Rattler would close on August 5th, 2012, giving ride fans less than 4 weeks to take their last rides. No announcement was made if anything was to be replacing the ride. People flocked to the park on its final day of operation, closing just after 10 PM on August 5th, 2012. Park personnel and Rattler enthusiasts would be the last people to ride the iconic roller coaster. 3.5 weeks after the Rattler's closure, Fiesta Texas announced that the attraction would be rethemed to the Iron Rattler for the upcoming 2013 season, with the ride being converted by RMC and designed by Alan Schilk. The attraction would feature new elements and a throwback to the original Rattler's first drop. Costing $10 million, steel iBox track would be placed on top of the existing wooden supports. Iron Rattler's lift hill would be extended to 179 feet, the same as the original. The angle of the first drop was transformed into a steep 81 degrees, with a new top speed of 70 miles per hour. Not only this though, a 0G barrel roll was added over the quarry wall and a new ending was added to the ride. This would be the first hybrid ride to feature an inversion and would open the following season. Iron Rattler had its grand opening on May 25, 2013, just 9 months after the Rattler had closed. It opened to rave reviews and placed second best in the new ride of 2013 at the Golden Ticket Awards, losing to Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City. Though not a record-breaking ride by itself, it truly is a fun and exhilarating ride that offers brilliant speed and breathtaking views of the park. Though the original Rattler had a somewhat rocky history, the Iron Rattler continues on its legacy, bringing the original planned height into the 21st century, with improved safety and comfort. This would not be the only roller coaster to suffer from some issues from RCCA though. In the year 2000, they built a well-known ride that suffered some issues at Kings Island.
The largest drop on a wooden coaster anywhere in the world. The Son of Beast will set 7 new world records.
This is the Son of Beast.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Six Flags. Have you been on the Rattler or Iron Rattler? What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on upcoming episodes, and a special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel. We will see you next time.
One flag! Six Flags! More fun!
Thanks for spending this hour at Fiesta Texas with us. I hope you and your family will come and visit in person real soon. And when you do, tell the man at the gate that Sam Houston sent you.